What's the most danger you've ever been in? Got drunk at a friend's who lived in a bad part of town. Party got broken up by the cops. Everyone ran. I had to walk home. I remember hearing people whistling, not at me but like they were signaling. Still very drunk. I remember the street being deserted except for a couple guys in hoods moving towards me. Bus pulls up, doors open just as the air brakes hiss. Where you going? I slur out my neighborhood. Me too. Hop on man. I fell asleep. The driver woke me up at my stop and I stumbled off the bus and managed to make it home. It wasn't until many years later that I thought about it. That bus driver saw me swaying down the street in a part of town I should not have been in. He must have been heading back to the garage or something because no buses run that late. Guy stopped and picked me up, drove me as close as he could to home and out of what was clearly going to be a very dangerous situation. My dad got angry with my mom one night. Instead of beating her like normal, he grabbed a Ziploc bag from their closet with bullets in it. He came into the living room where my mom, brother, I were sitting, waved the bullets in front of my mom's face, said, "I'm going to put one of these in your skull." He then turned to my brother. Me told us we'd be next. He went back to their bedroom to get his guns to load. My mom grabbed us, took us down the end of our street, hid us behind a church. She snuck to a neighbor's back door, had them call the cops. We came back as the cops were handcuffing him with his guns loaded ready for us. Robbed at gunpoint after I pulled over for a brief rest just north of Vegas. It was a completely terrifying experience. Growing up to parents who were constantly drunk and/or high, having people show up with guns rob my parents' drugs. Probably the time I was a little kid and went downstairs in the middle of the night to go pee, and I heard that the gas cooking stove was still left on. So I switched it off just cause I was taught to switch off lights when I leave the room too, and went back upstairs. But I got a bit worried maybe I was not supposed to, so I went to wake up my parents to say I went to pee and turned off the gas in the kitchen, and then walked to my bed again. Apparently they went downstairs, avoided any light switches and opened all the windows soon after. The car my ex-fiancée and I were in was hit by a drunk driver. She didn't make it. When I was deployed to Afghanistan with the army, my job was to walk in the front of everyone and operate the mine detector. Dated a cartel daughter many years ago, found out during the trip to Mex, was minutes away from being kidnapped in Nogales. Police came and scurried us away. Her dad's bodyguard was with us the rest of the vacation in much nicer parts of Mex. I went out on my own in the hottest part of the day with a fainting condition. Saw a dog with a collar in the woods. Ran in after it, exhausted myself and ended up passing out mid-run. I fell and slammed my head into a rock. We have lots of wild pigs in our woods. A man and his son saw me and carried me out of the woods. My parents were completely horrified. Was in Somalia as a soldier. Our platoon dismounted from our vehicles and set up an all-around defense at a small desert crossroads with a few small huts. My SGT and I were told to scout out some brush where we thought we saw someone walking outside the perimeter of our troops. We checked it out and ended up exchanging fire with a guy armed with an AK. Our troops thought we were bad guys, so they started shooting at us. I was laying there with branches and twigs falling all around me from the machine gun fire, bullets whipping past my head, snap, 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 and I thought was going to die. During this short period of time, the gunman, despite being severely wounded, managed to slip away. He dropped his rifle, ran right of his flip-flops, and buggered off in bare feet. In any regard, nobody died that day, but it was close. Being followed by my bully and his friends in the forest. The most terrified I've been in my life. Big toss-up between blackout from hypothermia, tumbling down a mountain I was climbing, getting trapped under a rapid, a riot in another country, heart-stopping. I might need to change some things. On a ferry during a storm, at night in Thailand. When the crew were busy praying and crying in the corner, it's probably a good idea to keep one hand on the life preserver the remainder of the trip. I was in China and was staying in a military barrack. I, a white person, was not supposed to be there. Tree well collapsed under me in a side country area. My group didn't hear me and they continued on. I was lucky that my board dug into some thicker snow in my heel edge, so I was only shoulder deep. It took me about 2 hours to get out. Baghdad. Encountered a family of mountain lions on a steep descent 2 miles from the trailhead after a 10-hour hike, exhausted and not at all prepared for that. Early 90s, was probably 5 or so since I wasn't in school yet. I lived at my grandmother's house with my dad and sister in the bottom story while she stayed upstairs. At this particular time, my grandmother was home with me while my dad was at work and sister at school. I found a pack of balloons somewhere and was blowing them up and pinching them so it sounded like a fart when the air came out. For whatever reason, I decided to inhale the air in the balloon this particular time. The whole balloon went right into my throat. Instantly I could not breathe. I ran upstairs in a panic to the bathroom for some reason. My first step on the linoleum sent my feet sliding out from under me and I landed straight on my back, which unlodged the balloon from my throat. Apparently my grandmother had just gotten done mopping the kitchen and bathroom. Someone tried to break into my house while I was in it, and I accidentally opened the door and found a stranger at my door only to realize later on camera that he was trying to break in. I was out fishing in Kodiak, Alaska last year during salmon run surrounded by the biggest bears on the planet. Would be out at the mouth of a river close to town, and bears would wander out from the woods right behind us, walk on by like they don't care about us. It was in the 90s, we went out in a nightclub. The driver was my friend's oldest sister. She was drunk when it was time to go home. We all said she should not drive and let someone else drive. Of course she protested strongly and said she was fine. I stupidly believed it. It was scary she would stop watching the road and turn her head to look to talk to us in the back. We screamed at her each time, look at the road, not stop swerving, till I made it close enough to home. I stepped out of the car and walked a part of the way. Fuck this, I have never and will never ride with a drunk driver ever again. Now I got my car and I simply don't get drunk. I don't enjoy being drunk. I was 7, was watching DBZ, specifically the episode where Gohan teaches Videl and Goten how to fly, climbed to the roof of my house 3rd floor and was about to jump from it. BC, I wanted to see if I could do it too. A neighbor saw me, warned my parents, and they grabbed me as I was about to jump. Walking down the street with a coworker in Chinatown, San Fran, the two of us happened to meet up with an armored car guard just as he was reaching his truck. A really sketchy homeless-looking dude has also arriving at this point just about a step or so ahead of us, and for some unknown reason takes a swing at the guard. They start tussling and our momentum kind of carries me and coworker right into the middle of this unfolding nightmare. Guard pulls his gun and is screaming and waving and swinging it everywhere. I saw the gaping maw of the barrel pass right across my face. I ducked, pivoted, and scooted around the other side of the armored truck. My coworker also managed to disentangle himself and scuttled down to the front of the truck. All in all, not an experience I would recommend. My ex-wife has been trying to get me arrested for the past 16 months. Last week she threatened me with blackmail from the witness stand in our divorce trial. I hope the judge comments on the threat. I plan on talking to the DA this week. I would say I am in danger of losing my freedom to a psychopath. I was 15, a runaway and smoking crack, having sex with a 38-year-old man. I'd say I came very close to dying a few times and didn't know it. If I could talk to 15-year-old me today, I'd whoop her ass.